What if Batman arrived in the Marvel Universe? Batman has faced gods before, but never gods who refuse to follow rules. In Gotham, even the Joker operates within a twisted logic, predictable chaos, containable madness. Here, in this place they call New York, the sky bleeds colors that shouldn't exist. Portals tear open above skyscrapers without warning. A man in red and gold armor flies past, pursued by something that bends light around its body. Batman watches from a rooftop, he's claimed, his cape motionless in wind that tastes wrong. Metallic, electric, alien. This isn't his world. The realization settled into his bones the moment he regained consciousness 3 hours ago, surrounded by wreckage that hummed with energy his cowled sensors couldn't classify. Somewhere below, sirens wail in patterns he doesn't recognize. The database in his cowl is useless here. Every face is unknown, every threat assessment incomplete. For the first time in years, Batman is operating blind. The breach happened fast. One moment he was investigating anomalous energy readings in the Batcave, readings that matched nothing in any known dimension. The next, reality folded inward like paper catching fire, and he was falling through colors that screamed. He'd built contingencies for interdimensional travel, studied the mechanics of breaches, even prepared protocols for alternate Earths. But this wasn't an alternate Earth. The architecture was similar enough to be unsettling. Skyscrapers, streets, the rhythm of urban chaos. But everything else was wrong. The technology moved differently. The people carried themselves with the casual awareness of a species that had seen too much. And the heroes, he'd already counted 7 distinct powered individuals in the first hour alone, operated with a visibility that would get them killed in Gotham. They wanted to be seen. They needed to be seen. It violated EK, very tactical principle he'd spent decades perfecting. Batman's gauntlet interface flickers to life, attempting to hack into local networks. The encryption is sophisticated but not impenetrable. Within minutes he's inside their internet, their news feeds, their hero databases. The names scroll past like a fever dream: Iron Man, Captain America, Spider-Man, Thor, an actual god, according to these records. Not a meta-human pretending at divinity, but a being from another realm who wields lightning and walks among mortals. Batman's jaw tightens. Gotham's rogues gallery includes a man who controls fear toxin and another who weaponizes riddles. Here they have reality warpers, telepaths, beings who rewrite the laws of physics with a thought. The power scale isn't just higher, it's fundamentally incompatible with everything he's built his life around. Preparation requires predictability. How do you prepare for someone who can alter probability itself? The data keeps flooding in. An organization called S.H.I.E.L.D., massive, well-funded, operating with government sanction. Multiple teams of enhanced individuals, Avengers, X-Men, Fantastic Four, threats that range from street-level crime to cosmic incursions. Batman catalogs it all, building mental files, searching for patterns. But the pattern that emerges is chaos masquerading as order. These heroes don't operate from the shadows. They hold press conferences. They have merchandising deals. Iron Man's identity is public knowledge. Captain America is a living propaganda symbol. The strategic vulnerability is staggering. Every villain in this universe has access to hero identities, home addresses, psychological profiles, and yet they survive. Which means either the villains here are incompetent or there's a protection mechanism he hasn't identified yet. Neither option is comforting. Movement catches his attention, a figure in red and blue swinging between buildings on what appears to be organic webbing. Spider-Man, the database confirms. Enhanced strength, reflexes, some kind of danger sense. Young, probably early 20s. Batman tracks the trajectory, noting the efficiency of movement, the casual confidence, no fear, no paranoia. The boy, because that's what he is, a boy, lands on a rooftop 4 blocks away and pulls out a phone, calls someone, laughs. Batman's fist clenches. In Gotham, that kind of carelessness gets you killed. Here, it's standard operating procedure. The cultural difference is more than tactical, it's philosophical. These heroes trust each other, they work in teams, they share information, everything Batman learned to never do. In a universe where your allies might be mind-controlled, infected, replaced by shapeshifters, or simply turned against you by forces beyond comprehension, trust is the greatest weakness. These people haven't learned that lesson yet. Or worse, they learned it and rejected it anyway. If you want to understand how a man built on control survives in a universe that defies it, hit that subscribe button. Because what happens next will test everything Batman believes about preparation, strategy, and the thin line between protection and paranoia. This isn't a story about Batman saving Marvel, it's about whether Marvel breaks Batman first. The Batwing would have given him aerial superiority, mapping capabilities, rapid extraction. It's gone, lost somewhere in the dimensional breach. The utility belt remains intact, but half the tech inside is calibrated for Gotham's infrastructure. Useless here. Batman takes inventory. 23 batarangs, 4 smoke pellets, 2 explosive gel cartridges, 1 EMP device, rebreather, lockpicks, first aid, and enough fear toxin antidote to survive 3 doses. In Gotham, this Lodo Ute could handle a night's patrol. Here, against beings who punch through mountains and survive nuclear blasts, it's almost insulting. He'll need new tools, new resources, new allies, though the thought tastes like ash. Batman works alone, but alone in Gotham meant controlling a known environment. Alone here means extinction. The math is simple and unforgiving. A flash of light erupts across the city, a beam of pure energy that carves a line through the night sky. Batman's cowl automatically polarizes, protecting his vision. The beam originates from what his minimal database identifies as Avengers Tower. Not an attack, a test maybe, or a threat display. Either way, it confirms what Batman already suspected. The power threshold here isn't just higher, it's exponentially beyond anything he's encountered. Superman was an outlier in his world, a god among men who still chose to follow rules, to limit himself. Here, there are dozens of Superman-level threats, and half of them answer to no one. The other half answer to organizations that may or may not have proper oversight. Batman needs information, he needs infrastructure, he needs time. And in a universe where cosmic entities treat Earth like a playground, time is the one resource he doesn't have. Batman spends the first 72 hours becoming a ghost. In Gotham, he owns the shadows, every alley, every rooftop, every abandoned building catalogued and weaponized. Here, he must learn a new city while remaining invisible to beings with enhanced senses, technological surveillance, and literal god sight. The challenge is unprecedented. Spider-Man's danger sense triggers when someone watches him too intently. Daredevil, another vigilante he's identified, can hear heartbeats from blocks away. SHIELD satellites scan for unauthorized technology. And somewhere in this city, telepaths exist who can pluck thoughts from minds like pulling weeds from soil. Batman adapts. He moves during shift changes when attention fractures. He exploits blind spots in SHIELD's satellite coverage, timing his relocations to the microsecond. He modulates his heartbeat using techniques learned from Ra's al Ghul, keeping it slow and steady, indistinguishable from the ambient rhythm of 8 million sleeping humans. It's exhausting, it's insufficient, but it keeps him alive. The safe house he establishes is a condemned warehouse in Brooklyn, chosen for its proximity to multiple escape routes and its absence from recent city planning documents. The structure is sound despite appearances. Good bones beneath the decay. Batman works through the night setting up basic equipment cobbled from stolen components. A laptop harvested from a corporate dumpster, wiped and reprogrammed. Burner phones purchased with cash, he lifted from a drug deal he interrupted but didn't fully dismantle. Basic surveillance equipment assembled from parts that won't trigger SHIELD's procurement monitoring systems. It's primitive compared to the Batcave. But the Batcave took years to build, benefiting from Wayne Enterprise resources and Gotham's established infrastructure. Here, Batman is starting from nothing, racing against a clock he can't see but knows is counting down. Every hour he remains undetected is borrowed time. Eventually, someone will notice the pattern of his movements. Eventually, someone will ask the right questions. His primary objective is intelligence gathering. Batman hacks into police databases first, easier than expected, their cybersecurity laughably inadequate despite the advanced technology. The crime reports paint a picture of a city under siege from threats that range from mundane to apocalyptic. Tuesday, armed robbery. Wednesday, interdimensional invasion. Thursday, genetically enhanced lizard creature in the sewers. Friday, robot army. The casual escalation is disturbing. Gotham's criminals are predictable. They want money, power, revenge. Here, the threat spectrum is so wide that meaningful preparation becomes nearly impossible. How do you build contingencies for everything from pickpockets to reality warpers? You can't, not completely. But Batman isn't trying to prepare for everything. He's trying to identify the patterns within the chaos, the structural vulnerabilities that persist regardless of threat level. And he's finding them. Slowly, painfully, but he's finding them. The heroes are his second focus. Batman studies them through hacked traffic cameras, SHIELD reports, and news footage. Tony Stark, Iron Man, is brilliant but arrogant, his psychology dominated by ego and a savior complex wrapped in sarcasm. Exploitable. Steve Rogers, Captain America, operates on outdated moral frameworks, trusting institutions that no longer deserve trust. Manipulable. Bruce Banner contains a rage monster he can't fully control, making him the ultimate liability in high-pressure situations. Weaponizable. Natasha Romanoff has the training and mindset closest to Batman's own, but she's compromised by loyalty to S.H.I.E.L.D., an organization whose true agenda remains murky. Thor is a god who treats Earth like a vacation home, appearing when convenient, vanishing when bored. Unreliable. Each hero has strengths, each has fractures. Batman catalogs them all, building psychological profiles that would let him neutralize any of them if necessary. Not because he wants to, because he might have to. In a universe this unstable, today's ally is tomorrow's mind-controlled assassin. The X-Men complicate everything. Mutants, humans born with powers they didn't choose, feared and hunted by their own species. Batman understands persecution, understands the weight of being different. But the X-Men's existence introduces variables he struggles to quantify. Telepaths who can rewrite memories, reality warpers who bend space with emotional outbursts, regenerators who can't be killed by conventional means, and all of them operating under the leadership of Charles Xavier, a telepath powerful enough to kill every human on Earth if he chose. Batman has contingencies for Superman, kryptonite, red sun radiation, magic. But what's the contingency for someone who can make you forget Batman ever existed? The question haunts him through sleepless nights, driving him deeper into searching for answers that might not exist. Magic is the other unquantifiable threat. In Gotham, magic was rare. Constantine, Zatanna, occasional demonic incursions, manageable outliers. Here, magic is infrastructure. Doctor Strange commands forces that violate thermodynamics. The Scarlet Witch rewrites probability. Dimensions overlap and bleed into each other with casual frequency. Batman encounters magic firsthand on Night 4. He's tracking a shipment of stolen Stark Industries tech, weapons-grade repulsor components being sold on the black market, when reality cracks open in front of him. A portal, not technological, not even physical in any meaningful sense. It's a wound in space, leaking colors that hurt to perceive. Something steps through. Humanoid shape, but the proportions are wrong. Too many joints bending in directions anatomy shouldn't allow. It sees Batman, or senses him. The distinction becomes meaningless when it lunges with speed that shouldn't be possible for something that size. Batman moves on instinct. Explosive batarang to center mass, smoke pellet for cover, grapple line to exit vector. The batarang detonates. The creature doesn't flinch. It walks through the smoke like walking through silk. Batman's grapple pulls him toward a fire escape, but the creature raises one malformed hand and space inverts. Suddenly, Batman is falling sideways, gravity reoriented 90 degrees, his grapple line pulling him toward a wall that has become the floor. He adapts mid-fall, twisting his body, firing another grapple to create a swing trajectory that compensates for the altered gravity. The maneuver buys him 3 seconds. The creature doesn't pursue, it watches, studying him with too many eyes that exist in places eyes shouldn't be. Then it speaks, voice layered with frequencies that make Batman's teeth ache. You smell of different stars. Before Batman can respond, before he can even process the implication, the creature vanishes, not through a portal, just ceases to exist, like a program closing. The gravity snaps back to normal. Batman lands hard on the actual ground, rolling to absorb impact, coming up in a defensive crouch. His heart is racing. His tactical computer is screaming errors, unable to classify what just happened. Magic. It has to be magic, which means every contingency he's building, every tactical framework he's developing, has a blind spot the size of a universe. You can't strategize against something that ignores causality. You can't prepare for threats that operate outside logic itself. The realization settles into Batman's mind like ice water. In Gotham, he was the most dangerous thing in the shadows. Here, he's not even in the top 100. The power scale isn't just higher, it's fundamentally incompatible with human-level threats. And yet humans survive here, thrive even, which means there's an adaptation mechanism he hasn't identified. A survival strategy that allows baseline humans to exist alongside gods and monsters. Batman needs to find it. He needs to understand how ordinary people in this universe avoid being crushed by the weight of cosmic indifference. Because right now, Batman isn't just an ordinary person. He's less than that. He's an anomaly from a universe where power scales made sense, dropped into a reality where the rules he spent a lifetime mastering simply don't apply. The quest. Tion isn't whether he can win here. The question is whether he can survive long enough to learn how to fight. And somewhere in the city, in a tower of glass and steel, sensors flag an anomaly. Unregistered bio-signature. Movement patterns inconsistent with known operatives. Technology signatures that don't match any existing database. S.H.I.E.L.D's algorithms note the discrepancy, flagging it for human review. In his office, Nick Fury reads the report. His single eye narrows. He picks up a phone. "We've got a ghost," he says simply. "Find it." The hunt has begun, and Batman doesn't even know he's the prey yet. Batman discovers the true depth of his miscalculation when he intercepts a S.H.I.E.L.D. communication by accident. He's piggybacking on their encrypted channels, listening for patterns, learning their operational language. Then a code phrase cuts through. Celestial approach detected. ETA 72 hours. The response is calm, professional, routine. They're discussing the approach of a cosmic being, something the database identifies as a 2,000-foot-tall entity that judges entire civilizations, with the same tone Gotham PD uses for traffic accidents. Batman replays the communication 3 times, searching for panic he never finds. This is normal for them. Gods descending from space to pass judgment on humanity is a Tuesday. The psychological adjustment required to function in this environment isn't just significant, it's completely alien to everything Batman understands about human behavior. In Gotham, people fear the Batman. Here, people take selfies with Thor. The cultural adaptation to cosmic horror has created a species that either can't comprehend the danger they're in or has transcended fear entirely. Batman isn't sure which option is more disturbing. He expands his research, diving deeper into this universe's history. The Battle of New York, an alien invasion repelled by the Avengers 3 years ago. Footage shows Chitauri pouring through a portal above Manhattan, their weapons carving through buildings like tissue paper. The Avengers fought them in broad daylight, broadcast live on every channel. Civilians stood on rooftops filming instead of evacuating. Some threw debris at the aliens. Others looted abandoned stores while the world ended above them. The psychological profile is wrong. Humans don't behave this way under existential threat, except here they do. They've been conditioned by repeated exposure to world-ending scenarios, desensitized through survival. Batman recognizes the pattern. It's not courage, it's trauma adaptation. These people have learned that panic doesn't help when gods are fighting overhead, so they've defaulted to fatalism wrapped in smartphones and social media commentary. The resilience is admirable. The vulnerability it creates is catastrophic. A population that no longer runs from monsters is a population ready to be slaughtered. The Sokovia incident comes next in his research. An entire city lifted into the sky by an artificial intelligence trying to create an extinction-level meteor. The AI was created by Tony Stark. Batman pauses the footage, watches it again. Stark built an artificial superintelligence without adequate safeguards, without proper containment protocols, without even informing his teammates until it was too late. The resulting catastrophe killed thousands. Stark faced no criminal charges. No oversight board was established. The Avengers briefly disbanded, then reformed under new management, still with Stark on the team. In Gotham, that level of negligence would result in arrest, trial, imprisonment. Here, it results in a press conference and a rebranding. The accountable IT structure is broken at a fundamental level. Heroes operate with godlike power and minimal consequences. Batman's fist clenches. This is exactly the scenario his contingencies are designed to prevent. Unchecked power inevitably corrupts. The only question is when, not if. And in a universe where corruption comes with reality-warping abilities, the when might be tomorrow, might be happening right now, might have already happened and no one noticed because the corrupted hero rewrote everyone's memories. The X-Men files reveal another layer of dysfunction. Mutants are hunted, experimented on, murdered by their own government. Giant robots called Sentinels, designed to protect humans from mutant threats, regularly malfunction and kill indiscriminately. Batman finds records of mutant concentration camps, forced sterilization programs, genocide attempts that failed only because the X-Men intervened. And through it all, Charles Xavier preaches coexistence, patience, his dream of peaceful integration between humans and mutants. Batman understands idealism. He also understands when idealism becomes delusion. Xavier's telepathic power could end mutant persecution in an afternoon, make every bigot forget their hatred, rewrite the cultural narrative, force peace through neurological manipulation. But Xavier refuses. He considers it a violation of free will, even when that free will is being used to murder children. The moral gymnastics required to justify that position are staggering. Batman has crossed lines. He's tortured criminals for information, terrorized Gotham's underworld, operated outside legal boundaries for decades. But he's never had the power to simply end systemic injustice with a thought. Xavier does, and chooses not to. Batman can't decide if that's nobility or cowardice. Magic continues to be the variable that breaks all his models. He watches footage of Doctor Strange fighting an entity called Dormammu, a being from a dimension where time doesn't exist, attempting to consume Earth and merge it with the dark dimension. Strange won by trapping himself and Dormammu in a time loop, dying repeatedly until the entity grew bored and negotiated. The tactical framework is incomprehensible. Strange didn't overpower his opponent, didn't outsmart him in any conventional sense. He weaponized his own death, turned mortality into a negotiating tool through magic that violated causality itself. Batman has died before, technically. Heart stopped for 42 seconds after Bane broke his back, but death as a strategy, death as a renewable resource. The mindset required to make that choice is so foreign to Batman's psychology that he can't model it. He can predict how Stark will respond to ego threats, can anticipate how Rogers will react to moral dilemmas. But how do you predict someone who treats death as an acceptable opening move? You can't. Magic users operate on narrative logic, not tactical logic, and narrative logic has no place in strategic planning. The Infinity Stones represent the apex of his concerns. 6 artifacts, each controlling a fundamental aspect of reality: space, time, power, mind, reality, soul. The files are fragmentary. S.H.I.E.L.D. knows about them but doesn't have complete information. What Batman pieces together is terrifying. These aren't weapons. They're not even technology. They're the universe's source code made tangible. Whoever controls all 6 can rewrite existence at will, make half of all life vanish with a thought, reverse death, alter history. The scale of power is so absurd that Batman's mind initially rejects it as propaganda or mythology, but the evidence keeps mounting. The Battle of New York was triggered by one stone. The Ether incident in London involved another. These things are real, they're active, and multiple parties are hunting for them, including a titan named Thanos, whose profile reads like a cosmic horror story. Batman adds Thanos to his threat assessment list, flagged in red with triple priority. If that entity ever comes to Earth with intent, no amount of preparation will matter. The Avengers will fall, the X-Men will fall, everyone falls, unless someone builds a contingency now while there's still time. Night 7. Batman intercepts a mugging. 3 men surrounding a woman in an alley off 8th Avenue. Old habits. Gotham instincts. He drops from above, disarming the first attacker before the man registers movement. The second receives an elbow to the solar plexus, calculated force to incapacitate without permanent damage. The third runs. Batman lets him. The woman stares at him, eyes wide. "Holy shit," she whispers. "Are you a new Avenger?" The question throws him. In Gotham, people scream or flee when Batman appears. Here, they ask for autographs. "Go home," Batman says, voice modulated through the cowl's filters, "and stay out of alleys after dark." The woman nods, pulls out her phone. "Can I get a picture, though?" Batman is already gone, grapple line pulling him into darkness. But the damage is done. She'll post about it. Social media will spread the story. S.H.I.E.L.D.'s algorithms will flag another anomaly. The clock is ticking faster now. He's been operating for 7 days without detection. That streak is about to end. High above the city, in the Avengers Tower, an AI named Jarvis notes the incident. Cross-references it with 17 other anomalies over the past week. Compiles a probability matrix. The conclusion is presented to Tony Stark at 3:47 a.m., interrupting his work on a new armor iteration. "Sir," Jarvis says, "I believe we have an unregistered enhanced operating in New York. Skill set suggests advanced combat training, stealth technology, and tactical methodology inconsistent with known operatives." Stark pulls up the compiled footage, grainy, partial, but enough. A figure in black. Cape, pointed ears on the cowl, military-grade equipment. "Well," Stark says, leaning back in his chair, "looks like we've got ourselves a bat problem." He grins. This will be interesting. He doesn't know yet how wrong he is. Doesn't understand that Batman isn't a problem to be solved. Batman is a warning, a sign that the walls between universes are thinner than anyone realized. And if Batman could slip through, what else might follow? The meeting happens on Batman's terms, which surprises them. Tony Stark stands on a rooftop in Hell's Kitchen at precisely 2:15 a.m. because an encrypted message appeared on his private server, the secure one, the one that theoretically can't be hacked, with coordinates and a time. No threats, no demands, just an invitation that felt more like a summons. Stark came alone, partly out of curiosity, partly out of ego. The Iron Man armor is on standby, hovering 3 blocks away, ready to arrive in 4 seconds if needed. Jarvis is monitoring everything: thermals, electromagnetic spectrum, quantum fluctuations. The AI has detected nothing, which means their mystery vigilante is either not here yet or is good enough to fool Stark Tech. Stark hopes it's the former, suspects it's the latter. "I know you're watching," he calls out to the empty rooftop. The dramatic entrance is a bit cliché, don't you think? Silence. Then, from directly behind him, a voice like gravel. "You came alone. Smart." Stark spins, repulsors charging in his palms. Batman stands 3 feet away, having materialized from shadows that shouldn't exist on a well-lit rooftop. The initial assessment happens in microseconds. Stark's HUD analyzes the figure before him, cape made of memory cloth, possibly Kevlar weave. Cowl contains advanced electronics, multiple sensor arrays, utility belt with compartments he can't scan through, suggesting lead lining or EM shielding. No visible weapons, which means concealed weapons. The body language reads as controlled violence, every muscle coiled for action. Threat level: significant. "Nice costume," Stark says, masking his unease with sarcasm. "What are you supposed to be, a vampire?" Batman doesn't react to the provocation. "You've been looking for me. Now I'm here. We need to talk." His voice is modulated, stripped of regional accent and emotional tells. Professional, military-grade discipline. Stark relaxes slightly. People who want to hurt you don't usually open with conversation. "Okay, Dracula, let's talk. Who are you? Where are you from? And why are you skulking around my city?" Batman's jaw tightens at "my city," a micro-expression Stark almost misses. "I'm not from your universe. I arrived 8 days ago through an interdimensional breach, and I'm not skulking, I'm surviving." The word universe hits Stark like cold water. He's dealt with alternate dimensions before, the quantum realm, the dark dimension, whatever cosmic nonsense Thor brings to team meetings, but another universe entirely. The implications spiral outward. "Jarvis," Stark subvocalizes, "are we recording this?" "Yes, sir. Though I should note his technology is actively interfering with my sensor suite. I'm getting shadows where data should be." Stark files that information away. Out loud he says, "Interdimensional breach. Right. That's definitely a thing that happens. Got any proof, or should I just take your word for it?" Batman reaches into his utility belt, slowly, deliberately, giving Stark time to not panic, and produces a small device. "This is a USB drive containing data from my world, technology patents that don't exist here, historical records that diverge from yours, medical research 50 years ahead of your current capabilities. Consider it a down payment on trust." He tosses it. Stark catches it reflexively. "Trust is earned, Dracula, not bought with a flash drive full of potential malware." "Which is why I'm here," Batman says. "You're going to scan that drive, find nothing malicious, and realize I'm telling the truth. Then you're going to have questions. I have questions too. This meeting is an exchange of information, not a negotiation." Stark laughs, sharp, surprised. "You've got balls, I'll give you that. Breaking into my systems, summoning me like I'm your butler, now telling me how this conversation goes. You know I could have you in a shield-holding cell in about 90 seconds, right?" Batman doesn't blink. "You could try. It would fail. And then we'd be enemies instead of potential allies. I don't want that. Neither do you." The certainty in his voice is unnerving. Stark has dealt with arrogant people. He is an arrogant person. But this is different. This is someone who's run the scenarios, calculated the outcomes, and knows exactly how this conversation ends. "Okay," Stark says slowly. "Let's say I'm interested. What do you want?" Batman's posture shifts slightly, still defensive but marginally less hostile. "Information. I need to understand this universe's threat landscape, power structures, technological capabilities, strategic vulnerabilities. In exchange, I offer tactical consultation and advanced technology from my world." Stark's mind races. The technology angle is tempting. New patents could fund Stark Industries for decades, advance clean energy initiatives, save lives. But the other part bothers him. Strategic vulnerabilities. That's an interesting way to say how to take down every hero on Earth. What makes you think I'd help with that? Batman's eyes narrow behind the cowl. Because you've already done it. I accessed S.H.I.E.L.D. servers 3 days ago. Project Insight. Helicarriers designed to eliminate threats preemptively using predictive algorithms. The project was corrupted by Hydra, but the core concept came from somewhere. You're already thinking about contingencies. You just lack the discipline to implement them properly. The temperature on the rooftop drops 10 degrees. Stark's arc reactor flares brighter. You hacked S.H.I.E.L.D. Not a question, a statement of fact that rewrites the entire conversation. In 47 minutes, Batman confirms, your intelligence agencies have impressive hardware, inadequate software security, and a concerning number of double agents in positions of authority. S.H.I.E.L.D. is compromised at multiple levels, has been for decades. Did you know, or are you just negligent? Stark's jaw clenches. He did know, found out during the whole Winter Soldier fiasco, watched S.H.I.E.L.D. collapse from the inside. But having a stranger from another universe lecture him about it activates every defensive instinct he has. Careful, Stark warns. You're about 3 sentences away from me calling down the entire Avengers roster. Batman doesn't retreat. Captain Rogers is in Washington, Thor is off-world, Banner is in Calcutta, Romanoff is on assignment in Prague, Barton is at his farm in Iowa. You're alone because you wanted to assess the threat personally before escalating. I chose this timing deliberately. Silence. The kind of silence that precedes either violence or revelation. Stark stares at the figure before him, recalculating everything. This isn't just some enhanced vigilante with good tech. This is someone who operates on a level Stark recognizes from his own worst impulses, the need to know everything, control everything, prepare for every contingency, no matter how paranoid it seems. You've been watching us, Stark says quietly, all of us, for 8 days. Batman nods once. I watch, I assess, I prepare. It's what I do. And what I've assessed is that your universe is on the brink of multiple extinction-level scenarios, most of which you're not adequately prepared for. The Infinity Stones are in play, Thanos is coming, and your team operates on trust and improvisation in scarcities. Ted of proper tactical frameworks, you're going to lose unless someone teaches you how to win. The conviction in his voice is absolute, not arrogance, certainty born from experience, from winning impossible battles through preparation and discipline. Stark feels something he rarely feels, genuine uncertainty. This person, this Batman, is either the most dangerous thing that's happened to Earth since Loki, or the asset they didn't know they needed, possibly both. Okay, Stark says finally. Let's say I don't immediately throw you in a cell. What's your first move? Batman reaches into his utility belt again, produces a small holographic projector. An image springs to life between them, a schematic of something Stark doesn't recognize. Advanced, elegant, dangerous. This is a contingency protocol from my world, adapted for your universe's threat environment. We start by securing Earth's vulnerabilities. Then we prepare for what's coming, because it is coming, Stark. And when it arrives, trust won't save you. Strategy will. The hologram rotates slowly, casting blue light across both their faces. Stark looks at the schematic, looks at Batman, makes a decision that will change everything. Jarvis, cancel the Avengers alert. I definitely didn't send. Looks like we're having a longer conversation. Batman's expression doesn't change, but something in his posture relaxes by a fraction. Smart choice. Above them, the city continues its endless rhythm. Sirens, voices, the hum of 8 million lives, unaware that in this moment, on this rooftop, 2 men from different universes just formed an alliance that might save them all, or doom them. The line between salvation and catastrophe has never been thinner. And Batman, standing in shadows that belong to a world that isn't his, knows that better than anyone. The preparation phase is over. Now the real work begins, and neither of them is ready for what comes next. The workshop in Stark Tower becomes their war room by default. Batman refused to work in S.H.I.E.L.D. facilities, too compromised, too many eyes, and Stark's private lab offers the security and resources they need. For 3 days they work in tense silence punctuated by arguments about methodology. Stark wants to build better armor, stronger weapons, overwhelming force. Batman wants information networks, behavioral profiles, exploitable weaknesses. They're approaching the same problem from opposite directions, and the friction generates heat. "You're thinking like an engineer," Batman says, studying holographic displays of known enhanced individuals. "Building bigger hammers for bigger nails. That's not strategy, that's escalation." Stark doesn't look up from his workbench, where he's reverse engineering technology from Batman's utility belt. "And you're thinking like a paranoid conspiracy theorist. Not everyone is your enemy, Batsy." The nickname is deliberately antagonizing. Batman ignores it. He's dealt with worse than Stark's ego. He's dealt with the Joker. The data Batman provided checks out. Jarvis spent 48 hours analyzing the USB drive, found zero malware, and confirmed that the technology patents are genuinely revolutionary. Medical nanobots that could cure cancer, energy systems that make arc reactor technology look primitive, materials science decades ahead of anything on Earth. Stark wants to implement it all immediately, start manufacturing, change the world. Batman vetoes every proposal. This technology in the wrong hands becomes weaponized within weeks, he explains for the 3rd time. You release medical nanobots, someone reprograms them to target specific genetic markers. You introduce new energy systems, terrorists steal the designs and build bombs. Every innovation is a potential extinction event. You need control mechanisms first. Stark slams his tools down. "So we just sit on technology that could save millions of lives because you're afraid of hypotheticals?" Batman's voice doesn't rise. "They're not hypotheticals. They're inevitabilities. I've seen it happen. Every advancement creates new vulnerabilities. You need to think 3 moves ahead." The philosophical clash is fundamental. Stark believes in progress, in humanity's ability to rise to challenges, in the power of innovation to solve problems faster than they create new ones. Batman believes in preparation, in assuming worst-case scenarios, in building contingencies for contingencies, because hope is not a strategy. Neither is completely wrong, neither is completely right, and the compromise they need to reach doesn't exist yet. "Look," Stark says, attempting diplomacy, "I get it. You come from a darker universe, you've seen things go wrong. But here, we've faced down alien invasions, killer robots, actual gods trying to conquer us, and we won. Not through paranoia and contingency plans, through teamwork, trust, working together." Batman's jaw tightens. "You won through luck, through enemies that monologued instead of executing, through cosmic coincidences that won't repeat. Thanos won't monologue. The next Ultron won't have a moral crisis. You're betting Earth's survival on patterns that only work in narratives. Reality doesn't follow story logic." The statement hangs between them, heavy with implications. Stark wants to argue, wants to defend his team, his world, but he can't, because Batman's right about one thing: they have gotten lucky. Loki could have won in New York. Ultron came within seconds of succeeding. The Sokovia Accords nearly destroyed the team from within. They've survived not because they're unbeatable, but because they've been fortunate, and fortune runs out eventually. "Okay," Stark says quietly. "What do you suggest?" Batman pulls up a new holographic display, a network diagram showing every enhanced individual on Earth, color-coded by threat level, connected by relationship lines. "We build the framework I should have built years ago: comprehensive psychological profiles, known weaknesses, behavioral triggers, Containment protocols, not to attack them, to protect against worst-case scenarios, mind control, corruption, replacement by shapeshifters. We prepare for the day your allies become your enemies. Stark stares at the display, at the faces of his friends marked with threat assessments and vulnerability analyses. It feels like betrayal. It feels necessary. He hates that both things are true. They start with the Avengers because they're the most accessible. Captain America's file is straightforward: peak human physiology, unbreakable shield, tactical genius born from World War II experience. Weaknesses: outdated worldview, unwillingness to compromise principles even when pragmatism demands it, emotional attachment to James Barnes that overrides judgment. Containment: sonic weaponry to disorient, cryotechnology to incapacitate, or psychological manipulation targeting his guilt over Bucky. Batman writes it clinically, without emotion. Stark reads it and feels sick. This is Steve we're talking about, the most trustworthy person on the planet. Batman doesn't look up, which makes him the perfect target for mind control. Enemy gets control of Rogers. They have a weapon with instant credibility, access to classified information, and combat skills that can neutralize most threats. You need countermeasures. Stark knows Batman's right, hates it anyway. They move to the next file. Thor presents unique challenges: Asgardian physiology, godlike strength, control over lightning, millennia of combat experience. Weaknesses: arrogance, emotional volatility, dependence on Mjolnir for full power. Containment: separate him from his hammer using electromagnetic fields, exploit his pride to manipulate tactical decisions, and Batman presents this option with visible reluctance: target his attachments to Earth, specifically Jane Foster. You want to threaten his girlfriend to control him? Stark asks, voice flat. I want options, Batman corrects. Options you'll hopefully never use. But if Thor is compromised by Loki, by Thanos, by any of the entities that can corrupt gods, you need leverage. Emotional leverage is the strongest kind. The logic is sound. The ethics are questionable at best. Stark adds it to the file anyway, hating himself a little more with each keystroke. This is what security costs. This is what preparation demands. Batman doesn't flinch from it. Stark isn't sure he can live with it. Bruce Banner's file is the most disturbing. Batman treats the Hulk not as Banner's alter ego, but as a separate entity, one with near limitless strength, accelerating regeneration, and rage that increases proportionally to damage received. The standard approach of overwhelming force fails because you make the Hulk stronger by hurting him. Batman's proposed containment: orbital deployment to remove him from populated areas, followed by sustained tranquilizer delivery using automated systems, or psychological manipulation of Banner's guilt to prevent transformation. The backup plan involves teleportation technology, which doesn't exist yet, to dump the Hulk in an uninhabited dimension. This is overkill, Stark protests. Banner has control now. He's integra, aided, balanced. Batman pulls up footage from Johannesburg. The Hulk, tearing through a city while under Scarlet Witch's influence, nearly killing hundreds. Control is temporary. Integration is a psychological construct that can be shattered. The Hulk is an extinction-level threat if fully unleashed. You need absolutes, not optimism. Natasha Romanoff's profile is leaner, expert combatant, master spy, enhanced conditioning. Weaknesses: past trauma, emotional connections despite training, loyalty to institutions that don't deserve it. Containment: conventional weapons sufficient if surprise is maintained, or psychological warfare targeting her guilt over Red Room operations. Batman notes that Romanoff is the most dangerous Avenger in some scenarios because she thinks like he does, strategically, paranoidly, with contingencies built on contingencies. She's already building files like these, Batman observes. In her head, if not on paper, she understands the necessity. Stark checks the observation against what he knows about Natasha, realizes Batman's probably right. She would understand, might even approve. That doesn't make it feel better. Clint Barton rounds out the core roster: expert marksman, no superhuman abilities. Containment, standard tactical response. Batman spends less time on Barton not because he's less dangerous, but because he's less complicated. No powers to account for, no cosmic threats. Just a man with exceptional aim and the good sense to have a family that keeps him grounded. The files expand beyond the Avengers. X-Men profiles appear, each more complex than the last. Charles Xavier, Omega-level telepath capable of global mental genocide. Weakness, physical paralysis limits mobility. Ethical framework prevents use of full power. Containment, psychic shielding technology, neural dampeners, or, darkest option, exploit his attachment to his students to force compliance. Magneto, master of magnetism, survivor of the Holocaust. T, terrorist or freedom fighter depending on perspective. Weakness, age, ideology that creates predictable behavior patterns. Containment, non-metallic weaponry, psychological manipulation targeting his protective instincts toward mutant kind. On and on the list goes. Jean Grey, Scott Summers, Storm, Wolverine. Every hero becomes a dossier, every strength catalogued alongside its corresponding weakness. Batman builds the architecture of control piece by piece, file by file. Stark watches it happen and understands why people fear Batman in his universe. This level of preparation, this depth of paranoia, it's rational taken to terrifying extremes. "What about you?" Stark asks suddenly. "You're building files on everyone else. Who builds yours?" Batman doesn't hesitate. "You do, right now." He pulls up a blank profile, enters his own designation. "I'm human, peak physical conditioning, genius-level intellect, advanced technology, expert in 17 martial arts, mastery of fear tactics." Weaknesses: no superhuman abilities, dependent on equipment, attachment to specific moral codes, limits lethality. Containment: overwhelming force before preparation is possible, electromagnetic pulse to disable technology or target my identity if discovered. He meets Stark's eyes. "I'm giving you what you need to stop me, because if I'm compromised, if something takes control of me, you need to be ready." That's what this is, mutual assured protection. We protect each other by being ready to stop each other. The statement reframes everything. This isn't paranoia. It's trust expressed through the only language Batman knows: preparation. He's not threatening the Avengers. He's offering them the gift of his expertise in survival through strategic thinking. Stark saves the file, looks at the network of profiles spread across the holographic displays, sees Earth's defenders reduced to vulnerabilities and contingencies. It should feel wrong. It does feel wrong, but it also feels necessary, and maybe that's the real horror, that Batman's way of thinking makes sense here, that in a universe of gods and monsters, paranoia is just pattern recognition. "Okay," Stark says finally, "we have the files. What's next?" Batman's expression doesn't change, but something shifts in his posture. Relief, maybe, or vindication. "Next, we prepare for Thanos, because everything else is prologue. He's the real threat, and when he comes, these contingencies become the difference between survival and extinction." The hologram shifts, displaying a purple titan with eyes like collapsed stars. Neither of them knows it yet, but they're already too late. Thanos' plan is already in motion. The stones are already moving, and all their preparation, all their contingencies, all their strategic brilliance won't be enough. But they'll try anyway, because that's what heroes do, even the dark ones. Doctor Strange finds them on day 12, not through tracking or surveillance, through magic that treats space like a suggestion and time like a playground. One moment, Batman and Stark are alone in the workshop, analyzing Chitauri technology salvaged from the Battle of New York. The next, a circular portal of golden sparks opens in the air, and a man in blue robes steps through, carrying himself with the casual arrogance of someone who's seen the universe's source code. "Tony," Strange says, nodding at Stark. Then his eyes find Batman, and something flickers across his face. Surprise, concern, recognition of something that shouldn't exist. And you, the anomaly, the man from the universe that died. Batman's hand moves toward his utility belt. Strange raises a palm. I'm not here to fight. I'm here because you're creating ripples in probability streams that shouldn't exist. Your presence is complicating things. His tone suggests this is the understatement of the century. Stark steps between them, arc reactor humming slightly brighter. Stephen, good to see you too. Love the dramatic entrance. Maybe next time try knocking. Strange ignores the sarcasm, focused entirely on Batman. I've looked into 14 million possible futures. In approximately 8 million of them, your arrival here triggers cascading failures that end in Earth's destruction. In 3 million, you become our greatest asset against Thanos. In the remaining 3 million, the outcomes are so chaotic that even the Time Stone can't pass them clearly. You are a quantum uncertainty made flesh, and frankly, you terrify me. Batman processes this information with his usual analytical detachment, but internally, alarms are screaming. Magic, time manipulation, precognition. Every tactical framework he's built assumes enemies operate in linear time with predictable causality. Strange violates both assumptions. You can see the future, Batman states. Why haven't you prevented every catastrophe? Strange's expression darkens. Because knowing the future doesn't mean you can change it. Sometimes the only winning move is letting terrible things happen to prevent worse ones. It's a burden I wouldn't wish on anyone. The conversation shifts to the workshop's main table. Strange sits, and with a gesture the eye of Agamotto appears around his neck. The Time Stone, Batman realizes, one of the 6 Infinity Stones he's been researching. The proximity to that much power makes his tactical instincts scream retreat, but he holds position. Your universe, Strange begins, was destroyed. Not metaphorically, actually unmade by an entity called the Anti-Monitor during an event called Crisis on Infinite Earths. You shouldn't exist. The fact that you do means either the multiverse is repairing itself in unexpected ways, or something deliberately pulled you through before the collapse completed. Batman's world stops, his universe, destroyed, everyone he knew, protected, fought for, gone. Gotham, the Justice League, Alfred, the weight of it hits like a physical blow, but he doesn't let it show, can't let it show. How long ago, he asks, voice steady through sheer discipline. From your subjective perspective, about 43 seconds. You were pulled through time as well as space. In your universe, the crisis is happening right now. The implications cascade through Batman's mind. He didn't escape to another universe. He was saved from his universe's death, which means someone or something thought he was worth saving, thought his presence here mattered more than his death there. Who pulled me through? Strange shakes his head. The magic involved is beyond even my comprehension. Multiversal, cosmic-scale reality manipulation. Could be the living tribunal, could be the Beyonders, could be something we don't have names for yet. What matters is you're here, you're stable, and you're creating probability storms that could either save us or doom us. He leans forward. Tony tells me you're building contingencies against the Avengers. Good. We need that level of preparation, but you need to understand it. And something about Thanos that no amount of tactical planning can fully account for. He's inevitable. I've seen timelines where we prepare for decades, where we have every advantage, where we fight perfectly. We still lose in most of them. Stark slams his hand on the table. Then what's the point? If we're going to lose anyway, why are we even trying? Strange's gaze doesn't waver. Because in one timeline, one specific sequence of events out of 14 million possibilities, we win. And to reach that timeline, everything has to happen exactly right. Every decision, every sacrifice, every seemingly random occurrence has to align, including Batman's arrival here, including the contingencies you're building, including choices we haven't made yet, but will need to. The statement reframes Batman's entire purpose. He's not here by accident. He's here because the universe needs him here, because some cosmic intelligence calculated that his paranoia and preparation might be the variable that shifts probability from certain doom to possible survival. Tell me about the winning timeline, Batman demands. Every detail. We build toward that. Strange's expression becomes pained. I can't. If I tell you, you'll try to force it. You'll optimize and strategize and prepare, and in doing so, you'll create different conditions that shift us away from the path. The winning timeline only works if everyone makes organic choices, including terrible ones we'd prevent if we knew they were coming. Batman's fist clenches. This is his nightmare. Insufficient information, inability to prepare, forced to trust in cosmic forces beyond his control. Everything he's spent his life fighting against. That's not acceptable. You can't ask me to operate blind when you have the information. Strange stands, portal already forming behind him. I'm not asking, I'm telling you how reality works. You want to help? Keep doing what you're doing. Build your contingencies. Prepare the Avengers for the impossible. But know that when the moment comes, all your preparation will require you to make one choice that violates everything you believe in, and you'll have to make it on faith, not strategy. Can you do that? The question hangs in the air like a blade. Batman doesn't answer, can't answer. Faith is what got his parents killed. Faith that Gotham's elite would make the city better. Faith that walking through Crime Alley would be safe. He built himself on the rejection of faith, on the principle that preparation and strategy can overcome any threat. Strange is asking him to abandon his core philosophy when it matters most. I've seen what you become in the worst timelines, Strange continues, softer now. You obtain power you can't control. You make choices that save Earth but doom the universe. You become the very thing you're trying to prevent, the contingency that needs a contingency. In the winning timeline, you have to trust people you've spent weeks cataloging as potential threats. You have to let go. Can you do that? Batman meets his gaze. I've never trusted anyone completely, even the Justice League. He stops, remembers they're gone, dead, erased. The pain tries to surface. He crushes it. I'll do what's necessary. I always do. Strange nods, not quite satisfied, but accepting it as the best answer he'll get. Then we're on the same side. Probably. The probability branches are still uncertain. He steps toward the portal, then pauses. One more thing. In approximately 40% of the futures I've seen, there's a moment where you have to choose between saving this universe and avenging your own. Choose wisely. The person you were in your universe is dead. The question is whether you'll accept that and become who this universe needs you to be. The portal closes, leaving Batman and Stark in heavy silence. Finally, Stark speaks. So, your universe is gone. I'm sorry. That's beyond words. Batman doesn't acknowledge the sympathy. Can't afford to. It changes nothing. My mission remains the same. Prepare for Thanos, protect Earth, ensure survival. Personal loss is irrelevant. The statement is a lie, and they both know it. Personal loss is never irrelevant. It's the foundation of everything Batman is. But acknowledging it means processing it, and processing it means grief, and grief means weakness he can't afford right now. So he buries it, adds it to the mountain of trauma he's been accumulating since he watched his parents die in an alley 30 years ago. Just one more scar on a soul that's more scar tissue than anything else. Jarvis, Stark says quietly, pull up the Thanos files. Let's see what we're actually dealing with. The hologram materializes, a titan from a dead world, obsessed with balance through genocide, hunting artifacts that can rewrite reality. His history is one of conquest and slaughter spanning decades. Batman studies the profile with fresh perspective. Strange said they lose in most timelines, which means Thanos isn't just powerful, he's strategically superior, tactically flexible, willing to sacrifice anything to achieve his goal. You can't threaten someone who has nothing left to lose. You can't manipulate someone whose ideology is absolute. Every weakness Batman would normally exploit doesn't exist. Thanos is what Batman would be if he had godlike power and no moral boundaries, perfectly rational, impossibly prepared, utterly committed. "We're going to need more than contingencies," Batman says finally. "We're going to need something I've never tried before. We're going to need to unite every enhanced individual on Earth into a coordinated defense network. X-Men, Avengers, Defenders, everyone. No secrets, no division, complete tactical integration." Stark whistles low. "That's ambitious. Most of those groups barely tolerate each other. Xavier and Fury have been playing Cold War for decades. The Defenders operate in New York's shadows. Getting them to work together is impossible." Batman's expression doesn't change. Impossible is a word people use when they lack imagination. We make it possible, we make it necessary, because the alternative is extinction. Over the next 48 hours, they build the framework for what Batman calls the Omega Protocol, a comprehensive defense network that activates only under existential threat. Every hero on Earth connected through encrypted communications, shared tactical databases, coordinated response procedures, contingency plans for every scenario from alien invasion to reality collapse. It's ambitious to the point of insanity. It requires trust that doesn't exist and cooperation that's never happened, but Batman sells it the only way he knows how, through fear. He shows them the projections, Thanos arriving with his army, the Infinity Gauntlet completed, half of all life erased with a snap. The math is simple and horrifying. Divided, they lose. United, they have a 1 in 14 million chance. Those odds are better than zero, barely. But in a universe this hostile, barely is all you get. You take it and you fight anyway, because the alternative is accepting extinction, and Batman has never accepted anything without a fight. The first recruitment happens in secret, a meeting arranged through back channels with Charles Xavier. Batman travels to Westchester personally, knowing telepaths require face-to-face interaction to build any semblance of trust. Xavier meets him in the mansion's library, wheelchair positioned by a window overlooking grounds where young ants practice powers they never asked for. "I know what you are," Xavier says before Batman can speak. "I've brushed against your mind, carefully, respectfully. You're a man from a dead universe, carrying grief that would break most people, driven by a mission that borders on obsession, and you want my X-Men to join your crusade." Batman sits across from him, studying the most powerful telepath on Earth. "I want humanity to survive. The X-Men are part of humanity, despite what bigots claim. When Thanos comes, he won't distinguish between mutant and baseline human. Everyone dies equally. I'm offering you a chance to prevent that." Xavier's fingers steeple, expression unreadable. "And all it costs is surrendering our autonomy, integrating into your command structure, trusting a paranoid vigilante from another universe who spent 2 weeks building files on how to neutralize us all." "Yes, Batman. I know about your contingencies. I've seen them in Stark's mind." Batman doesn't flinch. "Expected this. Then you know I'm serious, that I prepare for worst-case scenarios because hope is not a strategy. Your telepathy makes you vulnerable to psychic attack, possession, corruption. If you're compromised, you become the most dangerous threat on Earth. I need countermeasures, not because I want to use them, because someone else eventually will, and we need to be ready." The honesty is brutal. Xavier appreciates it anyway. "You're right," he says quietly. "I am dangerous. We all are. That's why I've spent decades teaching control, discipline, ethics, building a school instead of an army. But you're asking me to militarize my students, to prepare them for war. That goes against everything I've built." Batman leans forward. "Strange has seen the future. We lose if we don't unite. Your dream of peaceful coexistence. Thanos will destroy it regardless of whether you fight. The only question is whether you fight back or let it happen. I'm not asking you to abandon your dream, I'm asking you to defend it. The argument lands. Xavier's expression shifts, still reluctant, but recognizing necessity. They talk for 3 more hours, negotiating terms, establishing protocols. By the end, Xavier agrees. The X-Men will join the Omega Protocol, but the weight of that decision settles on him like a shroud. He's crossing a line he swore never to cross. Sometimes survival demands betraying your principles. Sometimes the only way to preserve your dream is to become the nightmare temporarily. Batman understands that better than anyone. The first joint briefing happens in a S.H.I.E.L.D. facility that technically doesn't exist, a black site in the Rockies, stripped of surveillance, reinforced against every form of intrusion Batman could imagine. Fury agreed to host only after Batman demonstrated he could bypass S.H.I.E.L.D. security protocols in under an hour. The display of competence earned grudging respect from a man who trusts no one. Now, representatives from Earth's major hero factions sit around a conference table that's seen too many arguments and not enough solutions. Avengers, X-Men, Defenders, even a few independent operators like Doctor Strange and Black Panther. The tension is thick enough to cut. Steve Rogers sits rigid, clearly uncomfortable with the cloak and dagger approach. Xavier maintains telepathic silence out of respect, but his presence alone makes several people nervous. Fury stands at the head of the table, one eye scanning faces, while Batman remains in shadow at the room's edge. Watching, always watching. "We've got a problem," Fury begins. "Several problems, actually, but one big enough that it makes all the others look like parking tickets." The hologram activates. Thanos, displayed in detail that makes several people shift uncomfortably. Fury's briefing is efficient: Mad Titan, Infinity Stones, universal genocide. Batman provided most of the intel, cross-referenced with S.H.I.E.L.D.'s fragmentary data and Strange's precognitive visions. The picture that emerges is nightmare fuel. Rogers speaks first, because of course he does. "How credible is this threat? We've faced world-ending scenarios before. Loki, Ultron, we survived." Batman steps forward from the shadows. Several hands move toward weapons before recognition sets in, the mysterious vigilante Stark's been working with. "You survived through luck and enemy incompetence," Batman says, voice modulated and cold. "Loki wanted an audience. Ultron had a god complex that created exploitable delays. Thanos is different. He's patient, strategic. He's been planning this for years while you've been reactive. By the time you see him coming, he'll already have half the stones." The assessment is harsh enough that Rogers bristles. "And who exactly are you to make that judgment?" Batman meets his gaze without blinking. "Someone who's seen their entire universe die because heroes weren't prepared enough." The statement lands like a grenade. Silence spreads across the table. Xavier confirms it telepathically. Not an invasion of Batman's mind, just a surface verification that he's telling the truth. "He's not exaggerating," Xavier says quietly. "His universe was destroyed. He's here because something pulled him through before the end. Whatever that entity wanted from him, it involves our survival." The revelation shifts the dynamic. Batman isn't just paranoid, he's traumatized, carrying the weight of a dead universe on shoulders that were already too heavy. It doesn't make him trustworthy, but it makes him understandable. Luke Cage leans back, arms crossed. "So what's the play? You bring us all together to tell us we're doomed?" That's a hell of a motivational speech. Batman activates another hologram, the Omega Protocol, displayed in comprehensive detail. "We unite. Complete information sharing. Coordinated response structures. Every hero on Earth connected through encrypted networks. No more working in isolation. No more territorial disputes. When Thanos comes, we respond as one entity with one purpose." The objections come fast. Too much centralization. Too much trust required. Too many old wounds and competing priorities. The X-Men have fought against government control for decades. Why would they submit to oversight now? The Defenders operate in neighborhoods the Avengers ignore. Their methods don't scale to cosmic threats. Black Panther represents a sovereign nation that doesn't answer to anyone. The logistical and political barriers are staggering. Batman lets them argue for 10 minutes, cataloging objections, identifying the real concerns beneath territorial posturing. Then he speaks, and his voice cuts through the chaos like a blade. You're all correct. This plan requires unprecedented cooperation. It demands trust that doesn't exist. It forces you to compromise power. In Cyples you've built careers on, and it's still the only option that gives us a chance. Strange has seen 14 million futures. We win in one of them. 1. Those odds don't improve if you maintain your comfortable divisions. He pauses, letting that sink in. I'm not asking you to like each other. I'm asking you to survive. Everything else is negotiable. Natasha Romanoff speaks for the first time, her voice measured and dangerous. You've been here 2 weeks. You've hacked S.H.I.E.L.D., studied all of us, built contingency plans for neutralizing every person in this room. Stark confirmed it. Why should we trust you? Batman expected this. Romanoff is the one person here who thinks like he does, which makes her the most dangerous skeptic. You shouldn't trust me, he says simply. Trust is earned over time, and we don't have time. But you can verify my methods. Every contingency I've built, I've documented. Every weakness I've identified, I've shared with Stark. I'm not hiding my paranoia, I'm weaponizing it on your behalf. Yes, I have plans to stop each of you if you're compromised. Strange can verify through precognition that those plans exist in the winning timeline. They're not a threat, they're insurance. He turns to Strange. Tell them. Strange nods slowly. The contingencies are necessary. In 47% of losing timelines, we fail because a key hero is compromised and we lack countermeasures. Batman's preparation solves that problem. I don't like it, but I've seen what happens without it. The validation from Strange carries weight. If the Sorcerer Supreme, the man who guards Earth from mystical threats, who's literally seen the future, endorses Batman's approach, it's harder to dismiss as paranoia. T'Challa speaks, his voice carrying the authority of someone who rules a nation. Wakanda has remained hidden precisely to avoid the kind of exposure you're proposing. Our technology, our resources, revealing them makes us a target. Batman turns to him. You're already a target. Thanos knows about vibranium. He knows about every resource on Earth worth taking. Hiding served you for centuries. Now it serves his interests by keeping you isolated. When he comes for Wakanda, and he will, do you want to face him alone, or with every hero on Earth standing beside you? It's manipulation, leveraging T'Challa's protective instincts for his people. But it's also truth. Wakanda's isolation is a liability in a universe where threats operate on a cosmic scale. T'Challa knows it, hates that he knows it. I will consider it, he says carefully. Not agreement, not refusal, an opening. The meeting continues for hours. Batman and Fury tag-team the presentation, Batman providing tactical frameworks, Fury handling political considerations. They outline communication protocols, quantum encrypted networks that can't be intercepted, response hierarchies, who commands in different scenarios, how disputes are resolved, what constitutes authorization for extreme measures. Resource sharing, Stark's technology, Wakandan vibranium, Xavier's Cerebro network, Strange's mystical defenses. Every hero brings something essential. Together they form something greater than the sum of parts. Separately, they're just targets waiting to be eliminated one by one. The math is brutal and undeniable. By hour 4, opposition is crumbling, not from agreement, but from exhaustion and reluctant recognition that alternatives are worse. Rogers finally speaks the question everyone's thinking. If we do this, if we unite under this protocol, who's in command? Who makes the final calls when we disagree? The room goes silent. Command structure is where ideologies clash hardest. Batman answers before Fury can. No single commander, decision-making by specialized councils based on threat type, mystical threats, strange leads, tactical ground operations Rogers, technological warfare Stark, political considerations Fury and T'Challa, mutant-specific scenarios Xavier. No one person has absolute authority because absolute authority becomes absolute corruption. We build checks and balances into the structure itself. It's not perfect. Command by committee creates delays and inefficiencies, but it's the only structure this many strong personalities will accept. Rogers looks at Stark. Stark looks at Xavier. Xavier looks at Strange. An entire conversation happens in glances and micro-expressions. Finally, Rogers nods. I'm in, but we revisit this structure after Thanos. If we survive, we need to talk about long-term implications. T'Challa adds, Wakanda will participate, but retains sovereignty. We contribute resources, not autonomy. Xavier, the X-Men join, but I maintain final authority over my students. I won't send children to die. One by one, agreements come, conditional, hedged with reservations, but agreements nonetheless. Batman watches it happen and feels something he hasn't felt in weeks. Not hope. Hope is dangerous, but possibility. The slight, fragile chance that preparation might actually be enough this time. The briefing ends with action items. Stark begins manufacturing quantum communicators. Xavier integrates Cerebro into the network for real-time enhanced individual tracking. Wakanda provides vibranium for armor upgrades. Strange establishes mystical wards around key locations. Banner works on Hulk containment protocols that can deploy rapidly if he's compromised. Every person leaves with assignments, timelines, deliverables. The infrastructure of survival being built in rushed weeks that should take years. Batman knows it's not enough. The Omega Protocol is a framework, not a solution. But frameworks are where you start. You build them knowing they'll fail in unexpected ways, and you prepare redundancies for when they do. That's the essence of preparation. Accepting that your plans will collapse and planning for the collapse itself. As the room empties, Fury approaches Batman. You pulled it off. Didn't think you could. Getting this many egos to cooperate is harder than fighting Thanos. Batman's expression doesn't change. They're not cooperating. They're accepting necessity. The moment that necessity ends, this alliance fractures. We're not building trust. We're managing fear. It won't last. Fury's single eye studies him. You always this cynical? I prefer realistic, Batman says. Trust is what civilians believe in. Soldiers know better. We're all soldiers now, whether we want to be or not. Fury grunts agreement. Speaking of soldiers, you ever sleep? I've had surveillance on Stark Tower. You've been awake for 63 hours straight. Batman finally allows the smallest hint of expression, a thin smile that doesn't reach his eyes. Sleep is a luxury I can't afford yet. There's too much to do, too many variables to account for. Thanos could arrive tomorrow or in 5 years. Until I know when, I prepare as if it's tomorrow. That'll kill you, Fury observes. Eventually. But not before I've done everything possible to ensure this universe doesn't end like mine did. The statement carries the weight of obsession, of a man who's replaced grief with mission because grief would destroy him. Fury recognizes the pattern. He's seen it in soldiers who lose their entire unit, in operatives who survive when everyone else dies. They build purpose from survivor's guilt, and that purpose becomes the only thing keeping them functional. Just make sure you're alive when the fight comes, Fury says. Dead martyrs don't win wars. Batman doesn't respond. After Fury leaves, he stands alone in the empty briefing room, surrounded by holographic displays of Earth's defenders. Each face represents a life he's now responsible for protecting. Each name is someone who might die if his preparation isn't sufficient. The weight should be crushing. Instead, it's familiar, comfortable even. This is what Batman does. He carries weight that would break ordinary people, and he keeps moving forward because stopping means people die. His universe is dead. Everyone he knew, gone. The Justice League, his allies, his family, erased from existence. He should be grieving, should be processing the trauma of losing everything. But grief is a luxury, and Batman deals in necessities. So he buries it, adds it to the pile of unprocessed trauma that's been accumulating since he watched his parents die. One day, maybe, he'll have time to fall apart. Today is not that day. Tomorrow won't be either. He turns back to the displays, already planning the next phase. Training protocols, supply chains, fallback positions. The endless work of preparation continues because that's all he knows how to do. Somewhere in the cosmos, Thanos moves closer, and Batman prepares to face him with a team of heroes he barely trusts and a plan that has a 1 in 14 million chance of success. The odds are terrible, but terrible is still better than zero. And as long as the odds aren't zero, Batman will find a way. He always does, or he dies trying. And right now, death might be the easier option. 3 weeks into the Omega Protocol's implementation, the cracks start showing. It happens during a training exercise in the X-Mansion's Danger Room, a simulation Batman designed to test coordinated response against overwhelming force. Avengers and X-Men working together, theoretically. In practice, it's a disaster. Cyclops refuses to follow Roger's tactics. Cal commands, arguing that Rogers doesn't understand mutant power limitations. Stark's technology interferes with Jean Grey's telepathy, creating feedback that nearly drops her. Wolverine tries to go solo because teamwork isn't his style, and nearly gets hypothetically killed 3 times before the simulation ends. Batman watches from the control booth, cataloging failures with clinical detachment. Xavier stands beside him, reading the room's emotional temperature through passive telepathy. "They're trying," Xavier offers quietly. "Rome wasn't built in a day." Batman's response is flat. "Rome also burned. We don't have time for learning curves." He terminates the simulation early. No point continuing when the lesson is already clear. These people have spent years, sometimes decades, developing specific combat styles and team dynamics. Forcing integration in weeks is asking water and oil to mix through sheer willpower. The debrief afterward is tense. Logan lights a cigar, despite the no-smoking policy, daring anyone to comment. Tony's in his armor, having never fully powered down, telling himself it's for efficiency, really keeping it on because he doesn't trust being vulnerable in a room full of powerful mutants. Steve tries to facilitate constructive discussion, but his very presence is a problem. To the X-Men, Captain America represents the government that's hunted them, the system that's failed mutants for generations. Xavier's respect for Rogers helps, but it doesn't erase decades of institutional betrayal. "We need to establish clear command structures," Steve says, projecting calm he doesn't feel. "When I give an order during operations, it needs to be followed. Lives depend on it." Scott Summers removes his visor briefly to clean it, keeping his eyes firmly shut. "When you give an order that accounts for mutant-specific limitations, we'll follow it. Until then, you're asking us to operate in frameworks designed for baseline humans. It doesn't work." The argument spirals. Stark interjects with technical solutions, better communication equipment, real-time data sharing, AI-assisted tactical coordination. Jean Grey points out that technology can't compensate for fundamental philosophical differences about collateral damage and acceptable casualties. The Avengers operate with military precision and government sanction. The X-Men operate as protectors of a persecuted minority, sometimes against that same government. Batman lets them argue for exactly 7 minutes before intervening. "You're all correct," he states, voice cutting through the discussion. "And you're all wasting time. The simulation failed not because of command structure or communication equipment. It failed because none of you actually want to work together. You're complying with the Omega Protocol out of fear, not commitment. That's insufficient." The blunt assessment creates hostile silence. Stark breaks it first, defensive. "We're trying here, Bats. Not everyone operates on your level of paranoid efficiency." Batman's gaze doesn't soften. Trying isn't good enough. Thanos won't grade you on effort. You either function as a unified force or you die separately. There's no third option. Wolverine stands, metal claws sliding out with that distinctive snicked sound. Maybe we don't need your protocol, bub. We've survived just fine before you showed up with your doomsday prophecies and control freak contingencies. The threat is implicit. Back off or find out what adamantium feels like. Batman doesn't move, doesn't even tense. Logan Howlett, born 1832, real name James. Healing factor makes you functionally immortal. Adamantium skeleton is your greatest strength and your primary weakness. Electromagnetic manipulation can puppet your body. You've survived this long through regeneration and berserker rage, not tactical superiority. Against Thanos, both advantage. G's become irrelevant. He'll rip the adamantium out of your skeleton while you're still conscious, then use it as a weapon against your teammates. You'll spend 3 weeks regenerating while Earth burns. Sit down. The casual dissection of Wolverine's combat capabilities, delivered without emotion or hesitation, is more effective than any threat. Logan stares for 3 seconds, then retracts his claws and sits. Not because he's afraid, because Batman just demonstrated intimate knowledge of his physiology and tactical countermeasures delivered with such certainty that arguing becomes pointless. The room's temperature drops several degrees emotionally. Everyone just watched Batman dismantle one of the most dangerous mutants on Earth with nothing but words and preparation. Steve Rogers finally understands what he's dealing with. Batman isn't just paranoid, he's weaponized paranoia into an art form. You've got contingencies for all of us, Steve says quietly. Don't you? It's not a question. Batman nods once. I have contingencies for everyone in this room, everyone in the Omega Protocol, and most major powered individuals on Earth. It's what I do, and before you ask, yes, Strange has verified through precognition that these contingencies exist in the winning timeline. They're not optional, they're essential. Because the moment any of you becomes compromised, mind control, possession, corruption, coercion through hostages, you become the enemy. And I need to be able to stop you. Jean Grey's voice when she speaks carries layers of pain. You're not building an alliance. You're building a prison with prettier walls. The contingencies, the surveillance, the protocols, you're treating us like threats to be managed, not allies to be trusted. Batman meets her eyes. Because you are threats. You're Omega-level threats that could destroy cities if compromised. Jean Grey, Phoenix Force host. Your power makes you vulnerable to cosmic entities that feed on psychic energy. If the Phoenix fully manifests and you lose control, you could sterilize the biosphere. I need countermeasures, not because I want to use them, because someone eventually will need to, and I'd prefer it be us with protocols designed for minimum lethality rather than enemies using maximum force. The honesty is brutal. Jean flinches like she's been slapped. Xavier intervenes, voice heavy. Batman, you're not wrong about the dangers we represent, but there's a difference between reasonable precaution and dehumanizing surveillance. We're people, not weapons in your arsenal. Batman's expression doesn't change. You're both. Everyone with power is both. The moment you accepted that power, whether through mutation, enhancement, or choice, you accepted the responsibility that comes with it, including the responsibility of being stopped if necessary. I'm sorry if that's uncomfortable, but comfort is a luxury we can't afford. The statement hangs there, uncompromising and absolute. Tony Stark, who's been quiet since Wolverine's display, finally speaks. He's right. Everyone turns to look at him. I hate that he's right, but he is. We've all seen what happens when powered individuals go unchecked. Ultron was me, unchecked. The Hulk in Johannesburg was Banner, unchecked. The Sokovia Accords happened because governments saw us as unchecked threats. Batman's doing what oversight committees and bureaucrats tried and failed to do, building actual functional accountability. The difference is his contingencies are designed by someone who understands our capabilities instead of politicians who see us as political problems. It's a significant concession from some. Iwan, who spent years fighting oversight and regulation, Rogers looks at Stark with something between respect and concern. The genius billionaire playboy philanthropist just endorsed a level of paranoid surveillance that makes Hydra's Project Insight look restrained. But Stark's not finished. That said, Batman, you're treating this like a tactical problem with a tactical solution. It's not. It's a human problem. We need to trust each other, and trust doesn't come from contingency plans. It comes from shared experience, vulnerability, proof that we'll have each other's backs. Batman considers this, running calculations behind his eyes. Trust. The variable he's never been able to properly quantify. In Gotham, trust got people killed. But here, in this universe where heroes operate in teams and survive impossible odds through cooperation, maybe trust is strategic necessity disguised as emotional weakness. He makes a decision that costs him more than anyone in the room realizes. Fine. You want vulnerability? You want proof I'm invested in this beyond tactical frameworks? He reaches up to his cowl, and for a moment everyone tenses. Is he actually going to reveal his identity? Batman pauses, hand on the mask. Then he lowers it. My name is Bruce Wayne. In my universe, I was the Batman for 23 years. I watched my parents murdered in an alley when I was 8 years old. I built myself into a weapon to prevent anyone else from experiencing that trauma. I've broken bones, violated laws, crossed ethical boundaries, and sacrificed relationships to protect my city. And despite all of that preparation, despite decades of vigilance, my entire universe died while I was powerless to stop it. The confession is raw in a way Batman never allows himself to be. Xavier senses the genuine pain underneath. This isn't manipulation, it's actual vulnerability from someone who's never learned how to be vulnerable safely. Everyone I knew is dead, Batman continues. Everyone I protected, fought beside, cared about, erased from existence. I'm here because something pulled me through, and the only way I know how to process that is by ensuring this universe doesn't end the same way. So yes, I have contingencies. Yes, I'm paranoid. Yes, I treat you as potential threats, because the alternative is caring about people in a universe where gods play dice with human lives, and I can't survive that kind of attachment again. The contingencies aren't prison walls. They're how I let myself work alongside you without constantly expecting you to die. The silence that follows is profound. No one expected that level of honesty from the man who spent 3 weeks being an enigma wrapped in Kevlar. Jean Grey's expression softens. I'm sorry for your loss, for what you've survived. Batman's mask, emotional not physical, slams back into place. Don't be. Sympathy doesn't change anything. We have work to do. But something has shifted. The room's hostility has transmuted into uncomfortable sympathy and grudging respect. They're not friends, they're not fully allies, but they're something more than reluctant cohabitants of a protocol they didn't choose. Steve Rogers stands, extends his hand. Bruce Wayne, I'm Steve Rogers, and I promise you, we're going to fight like hell to make sure your sacrifice meant something. Batman looks at the offered hand for 3 seconds. In Gotham, handshakes were often preludes to betrayal. Here, in this room full of people who could kill him 6 different ways, the gesture feels genuine. He takes it. See that you do, Captain, because if we fail, there's no universe left to retreat to. This is the last stand, whether we want it to be or not. They shake, and for the first time since arriving in this universe, Batman allows himself to be part of something instead of apart from it. It's terrifying, it's necessary, and somewhere in the cosmos, Thanos acquires the Power Stone from Xandar, leaving the planet in ruins. The clock ticks faster, and none of them know they've already run out of time for preparation. The war is coming, and ready or not, they'll have to fight with the imperfect alliance they've built. It won't be enough, but it's all they have. The Omega Protocol is active for 47 days before the first real test comes, and it's not Thanos. A Kree warship breaches Earth's atmosphere over the Pacific, weapons hot, broadcasting demands for the surrender of Carol Danvers. Captain Marvel. Batman had read her file, Kree human hybrid, cosmic-level power, decades of combat experience fighting in alien conflicts. She's been off-world for months, but apparently her past just caught up to present-day Earth. The Omega network activates exactly as designed. Quantum-encrypted signals pulse across the globe. Avengers mobilize from New York. X-Men deploy from Westchester. Strange opens portals. Wakandan fighters launch. Within 12 minutes, Earth's enhanced defenders converge on the warship's position, not as scattered groups, but as a coordinated force with shared tactical data and unified command. Batman coordinates from Stark Tower, holographic displays showing every unit's position, status, and combat effectiveness. It's the first time he's seen the protocol function under actual threat conditions. The efficiency is impressive. The vulnerabilities are terrifying. The battle itself lasts 18 minutes. Carol arrives mid-fight, punching through the Kree warship's hull with her bare hands, glowing with absorbed energy. With her presence, the fight shifts from desperate defense to overwhelming offense. The Kree captain attempts negotiation, something about war crimes, stolen technology, vengeance for destroyed fleets. Carol's response is concise. "You came to my planet. Bad decision." She tears the warship apart from the inside while Stark and War Machine provide cover fire. X-Men evacuate civilians from the coast, and Strange contains potential reactor breaches with mystical shields. It's textbook execution, precise, professional, exactly what the protocol was designed to achieve. But Batman sees what others miss. They won because the enemy was conventional. Military tactics, predictable weapon systems, technology they could understand and counter. Thanos won't be conventional. Thanos will be chaos wearing strategy like armor, and chaos doesn't respond to protocols. The debrief happens within hours. Carol Danvers sits at the conference table looking annoyed that this meeting is happening at all. She's used to operating solo, making decisions at light speed while fighting across galaxies. The careful diplomatic approach that Earth heroes have to navigate feels constraining to someone who's been a one-woman army for years. "So," she says, arms crossed, "you built a protocol. Congrats, it worked. Can I go now?" Batman studies her, the casual confidence, the barely contained power, the complete disregard for hierarchical structures. She's what Superman would be if Superman never learned humility. Functionally invincible and annoyed by anything resembling oversight. "You're a strategic asset," Batman says flatly. "Possibly the most powerful individual on Earth. Your presence in the Omega Protocol changes our tactical capabilities dramatically. We need to integrate you into response frameworks." Carol laughs, sharp, dismissive. "I don't do frameworks. I do what needs doing. If Thanos shows up, I'll punch him until he stops moving. That's the plan." She stands to leave. Xavier's voice stops her, gentle but firm. "Carol, please." She pauses, and Batman sees the calculation behind her eyes. Carol Danvers doesn't respect authority, doesn't submit to oversight, doesn't play well with others. But she respects Xavier, the man who helped her once, who understands power and its burdens. That respect is the leverage Batman needs. 5 minutes, Carol says, sitting back down. "Then I'm gone." Batman takes the opening. "Thanos isn't like the Kree captain. He's not like anyone you've fought. He's strategic, patient, and willing to sacrifice everything to achieve his goal. When he comes, and he will come, you punching him won't be enough. We need coordinated assault, layered defenses, contingencies for when primary attacks fail. You're powerful enough to engage him directly, which makes you critical to our survival, but power without strategy is just noise." Carol's expression hardens. "You don't know what I've fought, the wars I've won. I've taken down planetary threats, dismantled empires, survived things that would vaporize your contingencies. What makes you think this is different?" Batman activates a holographic display, footage from S.H.I.E.L.D.'s satellites showing the aftermath of Xandar's destruction. The planet is a tomb, billions dead. The Nova Corps, one of the galaxy's premier military forces, annihilated. Xandar fell in 6 hours. Thanos did this 3 weeks ago, Batman says, voice stripped of emotion. The Nova Corps had advanced warning. They had defensive networks. They had warriors with power comparable to yours. They fought with everything they had. He killed them all and took the Power Stone from their vaults while their world burned. You're powerful, Captain, but you're not invincible, and Thanos has killed gods. The footage plays in silent horror. Cities crumbling, ships falling from orbit, the final desperate transmissions as Xandar died. Carol's expression doesn't change, but something flickers behind her eyes. Recognition, maybe fear, though she'd never admit it. "Okay," she says quietly. "I'm listening." Batman nods, respecting the concession. "We need you, but we need you as part of the team. When Thanos arrives, you're our frontline assault. Primary objective, separate him from the Infinity Gauntlet. Secondary, prevent him from using the stones he already has. Tertiary, keep him occupied while we execute containment protocols." "What containment protocols?" Carol asks, and Batman sees Stark tense. This is the part they've been debating for weeks. The dark contingencies, the plans that cross ethical lines. "Worst-case scenarios," Batman says carefully. "If we can't defeat Thanos conventionally, we have alternatives. Dimensional exile, temporal displacement, quantum deconstruction. Each method requires different conditions and has catastrophic failure potential. But they're options when options run out." Carol's eyes narrow. "You're talking about weapons that could destroy more than just Thanos. Reality-breaking stuff. Who decides as when to use them? The question everyone's been avoiding. Rogers answers before Batman can. We do. Together. Not one person, not one council. We make that decision collectively when, if, the moment comes. It's idealistic, bordering on naive, and Batman knows it. Decisions by committee in crisis situations lead to paralysis, but it's the only answer this group will accept, so he doesn't contradict it. Carol studies Rogers, then Batman, then the assembled heroes. "Fine, I'm in. But if this goes sideways, if your protocols get people killed, I'm doing things my way. Clear?" "Crystal," Batman says. "Just make sure your way includes not dying in the first 30 seconds because you charged in without support." The barb lands and Carol almost smiles. Almost. "I'll try to restrain myself." She leaves and the tension in the room dissolves partially. They have Captain Marvel. They have Earth's defenders united. They have contingencies and protocols and technology. They have everything except time. Fury receives the report 2 hours later. Energy signatures detected at the edge of the solar system. Unknown configuration, but massive. Moving toward Earth at sublight speeds. ETA, 6 days. The message goes out across the Omega network simultaneously. After weeks of preparation, after arguments and training and careful construction of alliances, the moment has arrived. Thanos is coming. And suddenly, every contingency feels inadequate, every protocol insufficient, every preparation like rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. Batman stands in Stark Tower, surrounded by holographic projections of Earth's defenses, and allows himself one moment of honest self-assessment. They're not ready. They'll never be ready. But ready or not, the war begins in 6 days. The final preparations happen in controlled chaos. Stark manufactures the last batch of quantum communicators, programming in emergency protocols he hopes will never activate. Xavier uses Cerebro to locate every powered individual on Earth, offering them a choice: join the fight or evacuate to secure locations. Most choose to fight. Strange reinforces mystical wards around major population centers, creating sanctuaries that might survive even if Earth's defenders fall. Black Panther opens Wakanda's borders for the first time in history. offering vibranium and advanced technology to anyone who'll use it to protect humanity. The cultural shift is seismic. Wakanda, the hidden kingdom, standing openly as Earth's last fortress. Batman watches it all happen and feels nothing. No pride in their unity, no hope for their chances, just cold calculation about force deployment, fallback positions, acceptable casualty rates. The others allow themselves emotion, fear, determination, camaraderie. Batman allows himself only preparation. It's safer that way. Caring means vulnerability, and vulnerability means mistakes, and mistakes mean death. On day 49 of the Omega Protocol, Batman makes one final contingency. He records a message, encrypted, stored in 7 redundant locations across the globe, programmed to deliver only if specific conditions are met. His death. Earth's fall. The protocol's complete failure. In the message, he explains everything, every decision, every contingency, every dark choice he made in pursuit of survival. He addresses it to no one specific, because there might be no one left to receive it. But if humanity survives even partially, if some fragment of Earth's defenders lives through what's coming, he wants them to understand. The paranoia wasn't cruelty, the surveillance wasn't tyranny. It was all he knew how to give, his expertise in survival through PR. Eparation, offered to a universe that didn't ask for him but might need him anyway. The message ends with a single sentence: "I'm sorry I couldn't save you. I tried. I always try." He encrypts it, stores it, and never speaks of it again. Some contingencies are too dark to share while there's still hope. And there is still hope. Microscopically small. 1 chance in 14 million, but not zero. Never zero. Night falls on day 53. In 6 hours, Thanos' ship enters Earth's atmosphere. Every hero on the planet is in position. Avengers in New York, X-Men in Wakanda, Defenders covering critical infrastructure, Strange at the Sanctum, Carol in orbit providing early warning. The network hums with quiet communication, final equipment checks, last messages to loved ones. The peculiar calm that comes before battle, when every preparation is complete and all that's left is waiting. Batman doesn't wait at Stark Tower. He's in the field, positioned on a rooftop in Manhattan with a clear view of the sky. His utility belt is fully stocked. His armor, upgraded with Wakandan vibranium and Stark technology, is online and responsive. His mind is running through scenarios, calculating odds, preparing for every contingency he can imagine. It's still not enough. It will never be enough. But it's everything he has, everything he is. A man from a dead universe, standing on a rooftop in a living one, preparing to fight a god with nothing but preparation and desperate hope. The sky begins to darken, not with clouds, with the shadow of something vast descending. Thanos has arrived, and the war for Earth's survival begins now. The ship doesn't land so much as impose itself upon reality, a structure so vast it blots out stars, descending through Earth's atmosphere with the casual inevitability of a falling mountain. Alien metal that seems to absorb light rather than reflect it. Weapon ports that could level cities. And at its heart, somewhere in that impossible architecture, Thanos waits with 4 Infinity Stones already in his possession. The Omega Network erupts with coordinated chaos, every hero receiving real-time tactical data, threat assessments updating by the microsecond, Strange's mystical sensors screaming warnings about reality distortions around the vessel. Batman's cowl filters the information, prioritizing combat-relevant data while suppressing everything else. The ship is descending over New York. Of course it is. Thanos isn't subtle. He wants the world to watch, wants humanity to understand their helplessness before he erases half of them from existence. Carol launches first, a streak of light ascending to meet the vessel, her energy signature bright enough to register on every sensor system within 100 miles. She impacts the ship's hull, traveling at Mach 7, and the resulting explosion lights the sky like a second sun. For 3 seconds, Batman allows himself to believe it might be enough, that Carol's raw power could punch through the ship, reach Thanos before he deploys his forces, end this before it truly begins. Then the smoke clears, and the ship remains. Damaged, Carol tore a crater 50 meters wide in its hull, but operational, functional, already repairing through technology that treats physics as negotiable. And then the drop pods begin falling, thousands of them, tens of thousands. The Outriders, Thanos' shock troops, creatures bred for killing and nothing else, rain down on Manhattan like a plague of teeth and claws and hunger. They hit the streets at Terminal Velos. City, cratering pavement, and within seconds they're moving, fast, coordinated, utterly without fear or hesitation. Jarvis projects estimated numbers across Batman's HUD. Conservative estimate, 40,000 hostiles. Revised estimate as more pods fall, 80,000, 120,000. The invasion isn't a battle, it's an infestation, and Batman's standing on a rooftop watching the apocalypse deploy itself with methodical efficiency. All units, execute Protocol Olympus. Batman commands through the network, voice stripped of everything except tactical necessity. Civilian evacuation priority 1. Combat teams engage at designated coordinates. Carol, we need that ship disabled or Thanos never sets foot on Earth. Carol's response crackles through, strained with exertion. Working on it. This thing's got shields I can't punch through. Give me 30 seconds. She doesn't get 30 seconds. The ship's main weapon ports activate, and beams of concentrated energy lance down into the city. Not at heroes, at buildings, infrastructure, water mains rupture and flood streets. Power grids explode in cascades of sparks. Gas lines ignite, turning entire blocks into infernos. Thanos isn't trying to kill Earth's defenders. He's creating chaos, forcing them to choose between fighting his army and saving civilians. It's tactical brilliance wrapped in casual cruelty. Batman's fists clench. This is exactly the scenario his contingencies prepared for. And it's still not enough. It will never be enough. He drops from the rooftop, cape billowing to control descent, hitting the ground 20 meters from where Outriders are tearing through NYPD barricades. The officers are brave, opening fire with standard ammunition that does precisely nothing against alien physiology designed to shrug off plasma weapons. Batman throws 2 impact grenades into the cluster, followed by explosive batarangs that find throats and eyes with perfect precision. 3 Outriders drop. 17 more turn toward him. They see the cape, the cowl, the human figure standing between them and prey. They charge as a unified mass. Batman doesn't run. He's spent 3 weeks studying Outrider physiology from S.H.I.E.L.D. databases, analyzing their pack tactics, identifying vulnerabilities. They're fast but predictable, strong but unarmored at joints, regenerative but not instantly. He moves through them like water through stone, strikes to nerve clusters that exist in their alien biology, explosive gel planted on carapaces that detonates when they cluster together, smoke pellets that blind their thermal vision. It's brutally efficient. It's also completely unsustainable against numbers that keep growing. Spider-Man swings into the combat zone, landing beside Batman with that characteristic quip ready. Hey, Bat Guy, fancy meeting you at the apocalypse. We really need to stop meeting like... An Outrider nearly takes his head off. Peter's spider sense saves him, but barely. The boy's good, better than Batman expected from someone his age, but he's fighting scared, pulling punches, trying to web up enemies instead of killing them. Noble, inefficient, deadly in a war zone. Spider-Man, Batman says, voice modulated to cut through combat noise. These things aren't people. They're weapons, biological weapons bred for genocide. You can't web them up and hope they surrender. You stop them or they kill everyone you're trying to protect. Choose. Peter hesitates for a fraction of a second, and in that hesitation, Batman sees the exact moment the boy realizes what war actually means. Not heroic posturing, not quippy fight scenes, just brutal mathematics of kill or be killed repeated until someone runs out of bodies. Peter's next punch goes through an Outrider's chest, The one after that snaps a spine with enhanced strength he'd been restraining. He's not quipping anymore. 3 blocks away, the Avengers engage the main force. Captain America leads from the front because of course he does. Shield deflecting energy weapons, tactical commands flowing through the network with military precision. Iron Man and War Machine provide air support, repulsors carving lines through Outrider swarms. Black Widow and Hawkeye hold the flanks with conventional weapons upgraded with Stark tech. They're good, professional, operating with the kind of coordinated excellence that comes from years of teamwork. They're also being overwhelmed. For every Outrider they kill, 3 more drop from the sky. The mathematics are simple and horrifying. Earth's defenders are outnumbered 100 to 1, and reinforcements keep coming. Batman's tactical computer runs projections, calculating combat sustainability. Current casualty rate: 12 Outriders eliminated per minute across all combat zones. Deployment rate: 43 Outriders per minute. Net increase: 31 hostiles per minute, compounding. At this rate, Earth's defenders become combat ineffective in 4 hours, dead or exhausted within 7. And Thanos hasn't even left his ship yet. In Wakanda, T'Challa activates the nation's defense systems for the first time in recorded history. Energy shields spring up around the Golden City, vibranium spears distributed to warriors who've trained for this moment without truly believing it would come. The X-Men deploy alongside Wakandan forces, Storm calling down lightning that fries Outriders by the dozens, Colossus wading through them like a steel juggernaut, Wolverine doing what he does best with berserker efficiency. Jean Grey levitates above the battlefield, telekinetic force creating zones of protection where civilians can evacuate while Phoenix Fire incinerates anything that gets too close. She's holding back. Batman can see it even from New York through the tactical feeds. Jean's afraid of the Phoenix, afraid of losing control, afraid of becoming the threat. That fear is getting people killed. Jean Grey, Batman transmits directly through her communicator. The Phoenix is a weapon. Use it or watch everyone die. Those are your options. Choose now. It's harsh. It's calculated to override hesitation with urgency. It works. Jean's eyes ignite gold, and the Phoenix rises. The difference is immediate and terrifying. Where there was controlled telekinetic force, now there's cosmic fire that consumes Outriders so completely they cease to exist on a molecular level. Doctor Strange stands at the New York sanctum, hands weaving patterns that bend reality into defensive configurations. Mystical shields contain explosions. Dimensional portals redirect energy beams into empty space. He's fighting on 17 fronts simultaneously through astral projection, and the strain is visible even to Batman's distant observation. "Strange," Batman transmits. "How long can you maintain this?" Strange's response comes between incantations. "Long enough, probably. Ask me again if I'm still conscious in 3 hours." It's not reassuring. None of this is reassuring. They're holding the line through sheer desperate effort, but holding isn't winning. They need to change the tactical equation. They need Thanos. Batman switches to Carol's frequency. "Captain, status?" Carol's voice crackles through, distorted by energy discharge. "I've torn this ship apart from 6 different angles. It's regenerating faster than I can damage it. Whatever this thing's made of, it's not just metal. It's reactive, adaptive. I need more time or different approach." Batman's mind races through options. Time is the resource they don't have. Different approach might be possible. Fall back to support ground forces. Let the ship land. We can't stop his army anyway. Better to preserve your strength for Thanos himself. The admission tastes like failure, but tactical flexibility means recognizing when objectives aren't achievable. Carol hesitates. Batman can hear the frustration in her breathing, then complies. "Copy. Descending now. This isn't over." "No," Batman agrees. "It's barely started." The ship begins its final descent, no longer impeded by Carol's assault. It settles over Central Park like a tumor grafting itself onto healthy tissue. The hull opens. and Thanos' elite guard deploys. The Black Order, beings whose individual power rivals most of Earth's heroes. Ebony Maw, master of telekinesis and torture. Cull Obsidian, nearly indestructible brute force. Proxima Midnight, spear wielder and tactical genius. Corvus Glaive, immortal as long as his weapon remains intact. And behind them, descending slowly, deliberately, making everyone wait and watch, Thanos himself. Purple skin, golden armor, the Infinity Gauntlet on his left hand, 4 stones glowing with contained power. He surveys the battlefield like a disappointed parent evaluating children who failed his expectations. When he speaks, every communication system on Earth picks up his voice simultaneously, deep, patient, certain. I am inevitable. 2 words. That's all he offers before the Black Order launches their assault. Ebony Maw targets Strange immediately, recognizing the Sorcerer Supreme as the primary mystical threat, and their battle becomes a reality-warping nightmare that rips holes in the fabric of space. Cull Obsidian charges the Hulk, and their collision creates a shockwave that shatters windows for 3 blocks. Proxima Midnight engages Captain America and Black Widow together, and even with Wakandan shields and Stark technology, they're being pushed back. Corvus Glaive goes after Vision, targeting the Mind Stone in his forehead, because of course, Thanos' strategy includes acquiring the remaining stones during combat. It's elegant, efficient, the work of someone who's conquered 1,000 worlds and learned from every campaign. Batman watches it unfold and feels the cold certainty settling into his bones. They're going to lose. Not might lose, will lose. The mathematics are inexorable. But there's one variable Thanos hasn't accounted for yet, one contingency Batman built that exists outside the Omega Protocol, one plan so dark that even Stark doesn't know its full scope. Batman activates a coded transmission, quantum encrypted, routed through 7 proxy servers, impossible to intercept or trace. 3 words: Protocol Omega Midnight. Across the globe, in 7 different locations, automated systems receive the command and begin activation sequences. Technology that shouldn't exist. Weapons that violate 3 different international treaties. Contingencies built from the darkest corners of Batman's preparation, designed for the moment when conventional warfare fails and survival demands atrocity. The systems hum to life, charging power cells, targeting alien biomass, preparing to make a choice that will save humanity or damn it. Thanos steps forward, and the ground cracks under his weight. He's running, not rushing, just walking toward Earth's assembled defenders with the casual certainty of gravity itself. Carol intercepts him first, hitting him at full power, energy blazing bright enough to blind unprotected eyes. The impact should vaporize anything biological, should crack planets, should be the end of it. Thanos catches her fist, the Infinity Gauntlet flares, and Carol is thrown backward through 3 buildings, her energy absorbed and redirected through the Power Stone. She doesn't get back up immediately. "Is that your strongest?" Thanos asks, and there's almost disappointment in his voice. "I expected more." He gestures and the Space Stone activates. Reality folds. Batman's tactical computer screams warnings as gravitational forces spike, and then half of Earth's heroes are suddenly somewhere else, scattered across the planet, separated from their teams, unable to coordinate. The Omega Protocol's greatest advantage, its unified response network, just became its greatest vulnerability. Thanos didn't destroy their coordination, he simply removed it through strategic teleportation. Now it's isolated pockets of resistance against overwhelming force. And in New York, standing alone on a battlefield full of outriders and the Black Order and a Titan who's killed gods, Batman makes his final calculation. He's human. Peak conditioning, genius, intellect, advanced technology, but human. Against Thanos, those advantages are meaningless. He'll die here, probably in the next 10 minutes, but he can buy time, can execute the dark contingencies, can ensure that even if Earth's heroes fall, Thanos pays a price for his victory. Batman reaches into his utility belt, pulls out a device that hums with contained energy, and transmits one final message across the Omega network. For what it's worth, it was an honor preparing with you. Protocol Omega Midnight is active. Survive. That's an order. Then he charges forward into impossible odds, cape billowing behind him, human willpower against cosmic inevitability. The Dark Knight from a dead universe, making his last stand on borrowed time in someone else's war. And somewhere, in one timeline out of 14 million, this moment matters. This sacrifice creates the condition for victory. Batman doesn't know which timeline this is, doesn't know if his death serves a purpose or is just another casualty in an endless war, but he charges anyway. Or that's what Batman does. He fights, even when the odds are zero, even when hope is a lie we tell ourselves to keep moving forward, even when the universe itself says it's impossible. He fights until the end, and the end is coming fast. If you want to see how this impossible war resolves, how Batman's darkest contingencies play out, and whether one man's preparation can tip the balance against a titan who's already won, hit subscribe, because in a universe where gods fall and heroes break, sometimes the most dangerous weapon is the one thing Thanos never learned to fear, a human being who refuses to accept inevitable defeat. The war has just begun, and Batman's already planned for the ending no one else can see coming.